Okay, I am fresh off of doing an hour and 15 minutes of this and not getting any audio. So I'm going to do about a half hour of this and turn this into a video. I'm doing TikTok responses as a Christian, blah, 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 looking up atheist TikToks and just responding to them.
What is something that you'll get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud?
Christians are the most judgmental and hateful people that I've ever met of any religion in my 21 years of life as an atheist. They are the first and often the only ones to tell me that I'm going to hell, that I'm going to suffer, any of those things for my lifestyle, as if they know anything about my lifestyle. Not to mention they use their religion as a pretext to try to control the law, which is basically illegal because of the separation of church and state, which really doesn't exist in the United States. And you only notice that if you're not Christian. Because Christians control the government.
Okay, there's a couple things. I'm just going to respond to the first two things here because that's a lot. That's a lot to unpack. Every law determines some kind of morality. Morality is determining between good and wrong, right and wrong, judgment, that kind of stuff. Every law does that. Every law says, this is good, that's bad. This is good, that's bad. Christians do the same. There's Christians in politics who are trying to say things like, murder is wrong, so not murder is good. That's morality. I don't get why that's a problem. Christians are the most judgmental, the most hateful, all that kind of stuff. I understand that. I think that a lot of Christians can just come at you with hellfire and brimstone and like, you're going to hell. I'm tired of debating with people. You're going to hell. You better repent. All that kind of stuff. Like fire, hellfire. I get it. That happens. There's also lots of Christians who are very reasonable and very, shall I say, intellectual, the ones that want to have all kinds of debates and things. So it's not everyone that does that kind of stuff. And I'd really caution any Christians to probably not do that, because you're not going to have good conversations with people. That way you're going to make people react this way. Honestly, just talk to people about why we're here. Why is there good? Why do we have morals? Where do we get those from? Where does truth exist? Where does truth come from? All that kind of stuff is fantastic. It's a great way to start an argument. Well, it is a great way to start an argument because it usually devolves into an argument. It's a great way to start a conversation and a discussion with people who have differing worldviews from you. But if you just come at people and say, you're going to hell, and they don't even believe that hell exists, then you're never getting anywhere. Ooh, more than ready for this conversation. All right. Hit me up.
Are you guys going to gaslight God if you die and it turns out that he exists?
So you're seriously just not going to forgive me?
Huh?
I'm just saying, like, it's really not my fault that it's not my fault that I didn't
What?
believe in you, you know? I'm serious. Look at the material. Let's look at it. And I won't even go down memory lane, okay? We won't talk about slavery, the Holocaust, or any other major catastrophic event in human history where you just stood there and did nothing. Let's look at Earth right now. Oh, look, there's little Timmy.
As an aside real quick, atheists talk about evil in the world, and they say, why doesn't God step in and do stuff to stop that? Why didn't he stop that? Why didn't he stop the Holocaust? Why doesn't he stop murder? Why doesn't he stop all these things?
Why?
If you read the Bible, you'll know that God promises to submit everyone to judgment, to final judgment at the end. So he'll come back to earth, and everyone will be judged, not based on what they have done, but based on their faith in him. I mean, he's like making a skit of it right now. You know, he's talking to God, and God is judging him and all that. God promises to do that. But also, I'd like to pose to any atheists out there, if you're harping on God and you're talking about how he should remove evil from the world, then you should be happy that he did it in Noah's flood.
Got him!
Because if you look at that account, he gave the Canaanites 400 years. He warned them to stop their ways, to turn to him, and he gave them 400 years. They continued to sacrifice babies. Real quick. The god Molech was a idol made out of usually bronze, maybe copper. I'm not really sure. And he'd have his arms outstretched like this. And they would get very hot along with the rest of the metal body. And you'd, as the priest of Molech or whatever, as the drums are beating and the people are chanting and the fires are going and the smoke is rising, you would place the baby on these hands and the baby would sizzle to death. And I mean burn and melt and just combust. And there are accounts of this kind of stuff happening where the drummers would drum louder to make sure that the parents didn't overhear or didn't hear over them to hear the babies screaming while they're being burned to death. So this is a horrific practice that the Canaanites were doing back then, along with other things. And God gave them 400 years to turn away from that and to turn back to him, and they said no. All of them. And it was, passed down from father to son. Even the children were being brought into that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like it was a bunch of evil adults and innocent children either. That's another thing there. Let's continue with this.
What is little Timmy doing? He's praying. Aw, what is he praying about?
Mm-hmm.
Bone cancer? He's praying to you about his bone cancer?
Yep.
He's 6. Why does he have bone cancer? Like, you don't see how that's like messed up and unnecessary? Like, okay, maybe we need to go back to the drawing board. I can help you, because like you, I don't think you can handle this job. You really can't. Like, you messed up.
Ooh,
and like, I'm not trying to overstep or anything, but like, there are millions of people like that don't believe in you, so clearly you're doing something wrong. Maybe it's time to pass the torch to someone else. What's Gabriel doing?
Maybe you're clearly doing something wrong here. Where are you getting the idea of right and wrong from? Maybe God? Maybe you should get your idea of right and wrong from the person who created right and wrong, who created the universe, who created us. Maybe, if you're talking to him.
Also, who all you got in there?
People want to know what that means that you just said.
Like, I really want to know. Human beings, like, we see they're not great to each other. In fact, they haven't been great to each other for a long time. So, like,
no, they haven't.
But who did you allow in there? I'm very skeptical of the guest list. Can I see it? Because, like, if there are more than like 8 people in there, I don't know if you're the best judge of character. Like, should you really be judging me?
How would you know? How would you know? You claim to know people better than God does.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
I know this is kind of a sketch, but honestly, people do have these questions. If people are wondering, man, this guy was a murderer and a rapist and all these terrible things, but he trusted in God before he died, so he goes to heaven. He gets to go into heaven? Well, yeah, why do you think you're so much better than him? If God's standard is all the way up here, his standard is perfect. Absolute perfection. Any deviation from that, anything under that, you don't get there. If God's standard is yay high and you get there, you ain't getting into heaven by your own merits. You may think that's unfair, but that's, of course, when the gospel comes in, because that's when God came to earth in the form of Christ, and he took all the punishment on himself, and he made it so that we don't have to cross that bar. Even if you're a terrible person throughout your whole life, and then you just truly commit your life to Christ when you're on your deathbed, you get into heaven because you did the one thing that you can do to appease God. And that's not a work, by the way, even though I said the word do. It's having faith in God. It's not something you do on earth to earn favor with God. It's just his free gift to you, and you're accepting the gift. Let's see. Ooh, this one has 500,000 likes. Oh, that is loud. Okay, that one's very loud. I'm going to answer it, but just based on what I saw there. Yeah, if you're a Christian and you're talking to someone, this is kind of the same as the first one. If you are talking to someone and they don't care about all this, then you're never going to convince them if you keep just saying it. If you're talking to someone about hell and they don't believe in hell, and you keep telling them, hey, but you're going to hell, they're not going to believe you. You're never going to get anywhere. So you have to talk to someone on their own terms. You have to get to know them. You have to make sure that you understand what matters in their lives, and you talk to them about that.